Welcome to the Commvault channel. In this video we will discuss how to create and configure VMware vCenter for backup in Commvault. Please like, share, comment or suggest. Subscribe for more videos, and you can follow us on Instagram. In our previous video, we discussed how to install Virtual Server Agent on a virtual machine hosted on VMware ESX server. In this video, we will create a new vCenter client and discuss all the available options at various levels. Right-click on Client Computers. Select New Client. Add New Client window. Under Virtualization, select VMware vCenter. Create VMware vCenter client window. For client name, type the name of the vCenter, as you wish to see under Client Computers. vCenter host name should be fully qualified domain name of the vCenter. Enter the username required to access the vCenter. The user must have administrative privileges. Enter the password required to access the vCenter. Please note, do not include a colon character in the password. From the storage policy list, select a storage policy to associate with a virtualization client. The storage policy you select is also associated with the default subclient that is created automatically for the virtualization client. Proxies. Click Add to add proxies to the VMware vCenter client. Select Clients, Client Groups. You can add any computer as a proxy if it has Virtual Server Agent installed. Select the client from the Exclude section. Use these options to move it to the Include section. You must add at least one proxy to the VMware vCenter client. Select a proxy from the list of proxies and click Remove to remove the selected proxies from the virtualization client. Clients, Client Groups displays the list of clients or client groups which are included as proxies in the VMware vCenter client. You need to know the first proxy in the list acts as a coordinator. During the backup, the coordinator communicates with available proxies and distributes the virtual machines across proxies for load balancing. It also distributes required resources amongst the proxies. You can change the order of proxies in the list by using the up arrow or down arrow. If a client group is added in the list of proxies, the first client in the client group will become the coordinator. Once done, click OK. If provided username or password is incorrect, you might see this window. VMware vCenter client is created successfully. We see the virtual server, VMware ESX server, default backup set, and default subclient. Before we configure subclient, let's review available options at various levels. Right-click on Virtual Server. All tasks. From here, you can release Virtual Server Agent license and set operational window. Using View, you can view backup history, restore history, and schedules. Select Properties. Virtual Server Properties. General tab. Client name as seen under Client Computers. Agent installed on the client. Commvault version. Agent install date. Enable for archiving. When selected, enables archiving for all subclients. Only with this option enabled, the VM Management tab in Subclient Properties is displayed, otherwise it is grayed out. Security tab. This window helps to identify the users, user groups, and roles associated with this client. You can add, edit, or remove security associations for this client. Include inherited associations. Helps lists all of the inherited security associations that affect this client. Activity Control tab. By default, Enable Backup, and Enable Restore options are checked. If you clear the Enable Backup option, backups will be started as per schedule, for all the configured subclients, but are failed to start, with reason data management activity is disabled. If you clear the Enable Restore option, you will not be able to start restore, for any of the configured subclients, with backup history. When you clear any of these options, you get another option to enable backup, or restore, after a delay. You can choose the option to select a specific date and time when the backup or restore activity can be enabled. Right-click on VMware. All tasks. Use Delete to remove the selected VMware instance. You can create a new backup set, that is, additional backup set, leaving default backup set. Refresh data centers is used to query data centers and update virtual machine information. After selecting this option, you can refresh VM status of all virtual machines, or discover VMs, that is, all virtual machines for the virtualization client. Continuous replication can be monitored from here, if it's configured for the source and destination sites. You need to follow these tasks to configure continuous replication. You can install, upgrade, or uninstall VAIO filter from here. The LiveSync monitor displays status information for each replication pair, source VM and corresponding destination VM. Select Properties. Virtual Server Instance Properties. General tab. Client name displays the name of the virtualization client on which the instance is created. Agent displays the name of the agent. Instance name displays VMware as the instance name. If needed, you can change the instance name. Vendor type displays VMware as the vendor type. VMware. vCenter host name displays the host name of the vCenter, for which you have created the virtualization client. All virtual machines from this vCenter will be backed up. User account displays the user associated with the vCenter. Click Change if you want to change the user account required to access the vCenter. vCloud configuration. Click Configure to configure the instance for the backup of virtual machines from a vCloud. Provide the host name of the vCloud and its login credentials. Guest credentials provides credentials that can be used to log on to guest virtual machines in the instance. Click Change to change guest VM credentials. Register vCenter plugin. When enabled, the VM file recovery plugin is configured in the vCenter. Proxies tab. We have already gone through this Proxies section. You can add, remove, and change the order of proxies in the list. File Recovery Enabler for Linux. First of all, it is optional. From the list, select a default File Recovery Enabler to use for Linux file restores on all subclients for the instance. A File Recovery Enabler selected during a browse or restore operation overrides this setting. Proxy ESX server. Click Browse. Specify the name of the vCenter that contains the ESX server to use for mounting snapshots. Right-click Default Backup Set. All tasks. Most of the options you are already aware, and few we discussed before. List Snaps. Displays a list of all the snapshots created for the all subclients under the default backup set. It also displays important information about each snapshot, including the source mount path, snap mount path, the storage array, and the source client. The Find feature enables you to search for and restore virtual machine files and folders. Find allows you to search backup data for a file name, directory name, name pattern, modification date, or file size. Do note, files and folders are only included in the index if the Collect File Details option was specified for the subclient that was backed up. Find operations are not supported for backups performed using a Linux proxy, or for any hypervisor that does not support collecting file and folder information. Select Properties. Backup Set Property of Default Backup Set. General tab. These details we have already discussed. If needed, you can name the backup set, but do remember this is the default backup set. Security tab. We have already discussed this tab, hence skipping it. VM filters. From here, we can add or edit filters for a backup set. Filters are criteria to exclude virtual machines from backups. When you perform a backup of any subclient in the backup set, virtual machines satisfying the specified criteria are automatically excluded from the backup. This area displays list of all defined filters. Click Add button to open the Add Filters dialog. Add Rule window. Rule group. We can define filters to exclude virtual machines, based on specific criteria. You can define the following types of filters. VM name pattern. Select this option to filter virtual machines, based on a virtual machine name pattern. Host. Select this option to filter all virtual machines from a specific host. Enter the host name or IP address in the value box. When you filter a host, all child objects of the host, such as data stores, resource pools, or VMs, are automatically filtered from the subclient content. Data store. Select this option to filter all virtual machines from a specific data store. Enter the name of the data store that you wish to filter. Guest OS. Select this option to filter all virtual machines that have operating systems from a specific OS group. For example, to filter all virtual machines that have any version of the Windows operating system installed, select this option and enter Windows in the value box. Guest DNS host name. Select this option to filter all virtual machines based on a host name pattern. For example, to filter all virtual machines that have a host name ending with Commvault.net, select this option and enter Commvault.net in the value box. Power state. Select the power on status of virtual machines to be filtered. You can identify VMs that are powered on, powered off, or with a different power on status, such as suspended. Notes. Enter a pattern to identify virtual machines, based on notes text, contained in vCenter annotations, for the VM summary. Custom attribute. Enter a pattern to identify virtual machines based on custom attributes, in vCenter annotations for the VM summary. You can enter search values for the names and values of custom attributes. Tags and categories. Select a tag, or category, to identify all virtual machines under VMware entities that are marked with that tag, or category. Browse. We will discuss in a minute. These are the logical expressions you can select for filters. Let's add a rule for VM name or pattern, to filter all virtual machines for which the name starts with VM. The VM filter is now added. Browse. Click Browse to open the Browse dialog, which provides hierarchical views of the vCenter server, similar to the vCenter inventory view. Select one or more vCenter objects, such as hosts, clusters, resource pools, data centers, data stores, data store clusters, vApps, or folders. Once you select any objects, all child objects are automatically filtered from the backup. Select a VM filter entry, and click Edit to modify the filter, or click Delete to remove the filter from the backup set. VM disk filters. Disk filters are the criteria to exclude disks from the backup of a backup set. Click Add. Add disk filter. Virtual device node. Select this option to exclude disks associated with a specific device node from the backup. Select the device node from the available list. For example, if you select SCSI 0:0, then the SCSI 0 disk is excluded from backups for all virtual machines in the backup set. Data store. Select this option to exclude all disks on a specific data store from the backup. Click these three dots to open the Browse the vCenter and select the data store. VMDK name pattern. Select this option to exclude disks based on a disk name pattern. Enter the disk name pattern, with star at the beginning, and at the end. Do note, you cannot include path information in the disk name pattern. Hard disk. Select this option to exclude disks with specified disk numbers from the backup. Enter the disk number, or range of disk numbers, in the available boxes. Due to the length of content to cover, we will split this video into 2 parts. This is the end of part 1. We will see you in the next part. Do subscribe to our channel, if not already done so. Do subscribe for more videos.